Hello, in February I read 9 books. I've been desperately trying to read 10 books a month and literally barely failing at it. In January I read 9 and in February again I read 9. And so I'm gonna try better in March, but it's like March 9th and I've only read 2 books, so I don't know if it's gonna happen. We're gonna go over the 9 books I read. I'm gonna tell you what I rated them, all that stuff. My name is Andrea. If you're new here, you should subscribe, stick around, like, and comment, but let's jump into my February reads. I'm standing today. I feel like I'll be more productive. We're gonna try it out. I don't know. But the first book I read in February was Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This is the dust jacket reversed with the artwork of James, because I wanted Grace out of my face and I wanted James. I actually was able to get this book signed. It says for Andrea, and then that is Cassie's signature. Chain of Thorns is probably my most anticipated release of 2023, and so the fact that I gave it a rating of 4.75 is extremely disappointing. I have a vlog where I talk about this book, and I said in there that I was going to do a book review. I haven't done the book review. I don't know. I feel like I can't properly formulate my thoughts into a whole video. I still might try, and now I'm like, no one probably cares anyway, but I might still try that. If anybody wants me to do that, let me know. That'll encourage me. The reason I was a little bit, or kind of a lot, disappointed with Chain of Thorns is that I feel like it wasn't the ending that the series deserved. I feel like it just didn't wrap up everything at all. We're almost left with more questions, and just so many things that I thought would be answered weren't answered, and I still love it, and it's such a high rating. It's not even like I gave it a bad rating, but for what the characters mean and what the Shadowhunter world means to me and so many other people, it's just, it didn't live up to Cassandra Clare's usual ending style. So that's why I gave it 4.75. I still love James and Cordelia and the whole Merry Thieves gang. I'm still sad that it's over. I will miss the Merry Thieves and all the characters from the Lost Hours, and hopefully they will have a continuation, and hopefully she will write some novellas or something in the future. So then I read This One's For You by Kate Sweeney. I gave it 4 stars. It was an arc I got from Penguin Teen, but the book is out now if you want to read it. If you like Daisy Jones and the Six, I feel like you would like This One's For You, mostly because there is a musical aspect in the book. So in This One's For You, we follow Caspian and Sydney. Both of these characters are graduating high school. They used to be friends, like really good friends, but now they've had a sort of fallout and they're not friends anymore. I've been reading a lot of books with like best friend fallouts and then them reuniting, and it's great. I'm living for that trope this year. But his mother passed away when he was really young. The only connection he really has to her is that she was in a band before she died, and so he discovers that that band is doing like a reunion tour and going to a bunch of different cities and gonna perform, and he is kind of thinking and being pushed into the decision to go and visit those people and learn more about his mom. And then we have Sid, who is just kind of a troubled teen. Like, her parents don't really get her. She doesn't fit in with anybody. She doesn't have like close friends. Her siblings don't get her. Like, she's kind of like a lone wolf and a misfit, and the two of them end up going together on a road trip. And that's pretty much what the story's about. There is music and there's friendship and there's just a lot of cool aspects to the book that I love so much. In my Goodreads review, I did put some trigger warnings, which are depression, anxiety, loss of a parent, and therapy. So if you have any trigger warnings for those, you might want to go into it with that mindset that that will be present in the book. But I think it's a really good book you should read in 2023, especially if you want to try something new, try a new young adult contemporary. This story was really good and I really loved it. Then I read Act Your Abe, Each Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I really ate this up. Oh my god. I gave it 5 stars. It's my favorite book out of the Brown Sisters trilogy. I'm sorry, Chloe, I'm sorry, Danny, but Eve Brown is so funny, and I loved this romance. It's an adult romance, it's very mature, it has a lot of smut and things like that, but it was just so good because I loved Eve. She is the youngest sister. Her parents are basically telling her, like, girl, you need to do something. Like, yes, we have money, yes, you have access to our money, but you need to do something on your own and, like, basically like pull your own weight, like do something with yourself. And Eve has tried throughout her life to do many things, but she's also like a quitter. So she starts something and then quits, and then starts something and quits. So she gets into her mindset that she is gonna be a great like chef and go work as a chef, and while she's basically trying to make her parents proud, or really just like prove a point to them. She meets Jacob, who owns this bed and breakfast, and she becomes the chef of the bed and breakfast. And yeah, a lot of things happen after that. But I love Jacob and I love Eve, and the fact that Jacob is definitely like a grumpy person and she's sunshine, it's like grumpy sunshine trope. But just everything about Eve like sets off Jacob, and he doesn't understand how she is. And they kind of have two very different personalities, but they mesh together and it's a good romance, so 5 stars. Then I read another arc, which was called When You Wish Upon a Lantern by Gloria Chow. And this one we follow Kai and Leah, and they both live on the same street, and Leah's family hosts this thing every year, which is a lantern festival where the community comes and gets lanterns and they set them off into the sky. And Kai's family owns a bakery, and his dad and Leah's dad don't like each other, and they literally hate each other. It's almost like they're Romeo and Juliet families who don't want them to be together, who don't want them to be friends at all or talk to each other or have anything to do with each other. But Leah and Kai have always been really good friends. The premise of the story is Leah is basically trying to save her family's business because she learns that they aren't doing too well. To do that, she reverts back to something her and her grandma used to do when she was alive, which was fulfilling people's wishes that they write on the lanterns at the Lantern Festival. And so Leah decides to save her family. She needs to make wishes come true so that more people buy more lanterns and it's more magical and all that. So she gets the help of Kai to do that, and they're not supposed to really be friends. They're not supposed to talk to each other, but they're doing this scheme, and it's such a wholesome, cute young adult romance, young adult contemporary. Again, kind of like This One's For You. I feel like this one is a little bit more wholesome and just really a cutesy book, and I loved it a lot, more than I thought I would. I gave it 4 stars. I was interested the whole entire way through. I love Kai. He is a cinnamon roll who bakes cinnamon rolls for a living. He is everything to me. And Leah is just the like little ball of fire. She's so funny. I love her personality. Everything about them is so cute. Everything about the book is so cute, and you should read it if you're looking for a wholesome young adult romance. Next, I read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stivator. I didn't know what I was missing out on all these years because I really enjoyed The Raven Boys. It's really hard to say what this book is about because I'm a little bit confused. I love the book. I love the plot. It was interesting. It's really cool, but I don't know what's going on. And I feel like in the next books it'll reveal more, but it was still just such a good book. But basically, like, the catalyst of the book is that Blue, she is a anchor or an amplifier to her mom, who is like a medium and can talk to spirits. And when Blue is in the room, it's more easy for mediums to talk to spirits and things like that. But the one thing about Blue is that she cannot see the spirits herself, and she's not a medium by herself. She can only amplify other people who are. But the only spirit or anything that she has ever encountered is somebody named Gansey, and she hears Gansey and she learns his name, and she's like, this is the first time I've ever had like any type of premonition, like what is this? Another point of view in the book is Gansey, and Gansey lives in the same town, and it's a very like, I want to say like rural, out there, like out in the sticks kind of town where people just get up to shit. Like, they're looking for ley lines, and it's like, yeah, in this town that would happen because we're like in the middle of nowhere, and what else are you gonna do? So the Raven Boys are boys that go to this private prep school, which Gansey goes to, and he is a Raven Boy. And there's also a couple other Raven Boys like Noah, Ronan, Adam. And I love that there is a group of guys, and Blue kind of gets tagged along into their plots and scheming things they're doing. It's just interesting and it's fun, and they all have very different personalities. And this book is an older YA, and it feels like it, but it went into a lot of cool, not cool, kind of tragic and sad things about each Raven Boy and stuff. But I like that kind of thing, and so I liked this. It's a young adult fantasy, but it's kind of like an urban fantasy. I don't know. I don't really know what you would say, because they don't have like swords and fighting and dragons, but there is kind of a magical element to it. So it's like a low-key fantasy, and I gave it 4 stars. Next, I finished Rise Up from the Embers by Sarah Rosh and Kristen Simmons. This is the sequel to Set Fire to the Gods. Look at it. You need to read this. You need to read Set Fire to the Gods and then the sequel, because this is a great, fantastic, amazing, epic young adult fantasy. Okay, it's so good. One of the best fantasy duologies I've ever come across. Okay, I love it. It's Andrea Reed's approved. So in Set Fire to the Gods, we're following Ash and Maddox, who are on 2 different kingdom sides of this gladiator wars that they have to do. Okay, well, we're past that in this one. I can't tell you exactly what this one is about without spoiling. We are now at a new place. Ash and Maddox are still present, and they're fighting against a evil force that was born out of what happened in the first book. And so there's so many good quotes in here. It's just written so well. If you like your love interest to be completely obsessed with the main girl, to be like utterly willing to do anything for her, like grovel on his knees for her, with the fantasy plot and with the fantasy battles and war and elemental abilities, because that's all in this book. I think what I love most is the romance. This is definitely a young adult fantasy, but it has the romance too, and that's what I love. And so I gave this one 4 stars. I liked the first one better, but this one had some really good scenes. It also had like some high tension between the love interests, which I'm here for. So that's Rise from the Embers. Then I read We Deserve Monuments by Jazz Hammonds, and I gave this one 5 stars. It was a really special read, a really special book. I'm really glad I read it. I saw it on Scribd and decided to pick it up one day, and I finished it in a day. It was just so good. One of the main themes in this book is that it tackles intergenerational trauma and how like racial violence can pass down on to different generations and affect the future generations. And so we're following Avery as she moves back to her mother's hometown, where her grandmother is suffering from an illness and she is going to die soon, and so they're going to be with her in her last days. And Avery just learns so much about herself that she had never known, and different things about her family that she had never known. I feel like this book is great going into it when you don't know anything, so that every reveal and everything you learn as you go is just fresh and you haven't had any type of knowledge of it before. It's almost like in this book, every time Avery meets a new person, there's another secret about her family to be revealed through this person and through this character. And there are definitely some really, really sad points in this book and really low points in this book, but there's also a lot of heart, and it has sapphic romance as well. So Avery finds herself a girl that she begins to like, and it explores topics on LGBTQ as well, and coming out and things like that. So it has a lot of really heavy stuff, but I still feel like it was so good, and I feel like a lot of people would love it. And if you haven't read it, you should definitely give it a shot, because it was just so good and also had me bawling. Okay, and last book I read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I'm doing a reread, so I of course had to start off with Red Rising. Finished it in February. I will be rereading them one a month up until July when Lightbringer comes out. But if you haven't heard me talk about Red Rising, which is impossible by now if you've ever watched one of my videos, Red Rising is a science fiction book centered around a character named Darrow, who is a red, which means he comes from a mining colony on Mars, where he is mining and toiling for the future generations of Earth to come up to live on Mars. In his world, the society is ruled by golds, who are another classification of people who basically get to rule everything. And what Darrow doesn't know is that people have been living on Mars on the surface for years and years and years, like 100 years, and Reds just don't know. They haven't been told. They think they're working to something that is actually futile and has already been solved, and people can live on Mars, and they do. More people live on Mars and on other planets than they do on Earth. So we get to see Darrow's beliefs completely uprooted, and we get to see what he does with it when he gets a chance to infiltrate the golds. This book has also been said to be like the Hunger Games on crack, and I stand by that. The Hunger Games, but bloodier, and they don't really have any reason to kill each other. They're not actually being forced to. Like, they could decide not to, but they do, and it's almost like there's two different parts to the book. We get Darrow's story, then we get him almost in a sort of Hunger Games type of thing, and it's also been compared to Lord of the Flies, and it's just really good. It's one of the most epic, awesome, best books I've ever read, best science fiction books, I think, of our time, so check it out. I think that's the best I've ever, like, solidly talked about Red Rising in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, 5 stars, obviously. Also, I showed in one of my other books, I think it was Dark Age, that it had this in another video, but this one says live for more, and if you read, you know that is a quote from EO. If you ever read it, let me know. That's just really, really cool. Okay, I'm so tired of talking. I've been talking for a long time. That's gonna be it. So comment down below if you've read any of these books or what was your favorite book of February. Check out any of my social media if you want. My Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that is linked below. Check out my shorts. I've been uploading a new YouTube short like every day pretty much. But that's it. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!
I know that, baby, I'm never on your mind, and it don't matter how hard we try, 'cause you're never on my mind.